Hey guys, how you doing? Nice to see everybody in the chat. If you are hearing me okay, if you can just say hello in the chat, that would be great. Yeah, we have some hype music on this channel, so I like getting things started in a good way. So yeah, quite a lot of people in here today, so that's nice. Thanks for joining us. So I'm sure everybody knows by now, but if you don't, then Sunday stream at 4 o'clock every week. And every week we try and look at a bunch of army lists that get submitted. Now this was easy a few weeks ago when I had like 100 subscribers. I think this week there's been about 8 lists. So if you didn't get your list looked at today, then I am sorry. I guess I'm going to make a queue probably after this week. And if you do want your list submitted, I've been having to trawl through like comments on heaps of videos this week to try and find all the lists that were submitted. On the YouTube page, I'll just show you actually real quick. There is a tab. How do I get to my own YouTube page? There's a tab called Discussion. So if you click over in this Discussion tab, this is where you want to drop the list. This will be way easier for me to find it. There's less people chatting on here as opposed to me looking through hundreds of videos trying to find everybody's list. So in the future, if you want me to look at your list, then just drop it in the Discussion tab and I will find it much easier. So yeah, I did look at Battlescribe. It's still not updated, annoyingly. So I guess what I normally like to do on stream is build the lists that I've submitted in Battlescribe, and we can talk to them. We can talk about them rather than talk to them. And it's very easy in Battlescribe to switch out weapons or switch out options and see what the points difference happens. So not so easy at the moment, but these are the lists that I've got today. So I've picked 4. Live RPG, 7th Avenue, Adam Graham and Michael Wald. So these are ones that I've found. If you're not in this list and you submitted a list in the last week, I'd really appreciate it if you just drop it again in the discussion channel. Like, YouTube is really laggy when I'm trying to look through all my comments. It's really difficult to find any more lists. I will have another look, so if I did miss anyone, then I'm sorry. But okay, and then yeah, this is a pretty exciting week right now. 989 subscribers, so we're on the big push. When I made this channel, actually, my goal for 2 years was going to be 1,000 subscribers, so we're a little bit ahead of that. So thank you for the support. And yeah, if you are new here, then do please consider subscribing. Like, we have weekly Blood Angels content coming out every week, and I haven't decided what we're going to do next Friday yet. I was kind of thinking about looking at the Blood Angels Dreadnoughts, because obviously like the Death Company Dreadnought, the Librarian Dreadnought and the Furioso Dreadnought all got changed, right? I guess they all got nerfed a bit, and they all lost 2 inches of movement from 8 down to 6, which is a little bit annoying. And then I guess the Magna Grapples got pretty nerfed as well. Like, I'd already been using the strategy to bring on Death Company Dreadnoughts from reserve, and then with the +2 from the Magna Grapple, you basically just needed a 6-inch charge, right, against vehicles. So that was really cool, and I guess Magna Grapple is not cool now. I'm not sure I really like what they've changed it to. So yeah, I might look at Death Company Dreadnoughts, and then for Tuesday this week, I think we're going to look at my pile of shame. I put a video together this week of my pile of shame, and it's disgustingly large. So maybe we'll have some. Maybe Ironclad Dreadnoughts is a thing now. Did they get to keep their 8-inch movement? I didn't actually check Ironclad Dreadnoughts. We've never been able to own them before, right? There's kind of Ironclad Dreadnoughts are 6 as well, so it's questionable. I guess maybe we'll look at Dreadnoughts, guys. And then, the reason I've been running the Dreadnought rather than Mephiston is, like, I think Mephiston really struggles without Wings of Fire, right? No, that's... Sorry, not Wings of Fire. Wings of Sanguinius is what... Like, without Wings of Sanguinius and extra movement, like, I don't typically take an impulsor, so getting Mephiston up the board is difficult. So I haven't been running him in the last few games. I've been running the new Librarian Dreadnought and using the psychic powers from the Space Marine book. I don't think they're as good for us, but I mean, I guess it is what it is. Like, we're probably just going to have to wait another month or 2 months till we get our book, right? So, let me get this first list up. And, I guess as we go through, I see a few of you guys in chat. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat, and I will stop periodically and jump in. And also, I see a bunch of people that are here every week in chat. We've got like Red Blade, Highland Phoenix. I'm trying to think who else. Jay, you guys are here every week. You guys always keep me right. So if you do have questions in the chat, these guys will definitely be able to help out as well with any rules questions. Yeah, I miss Transfixing Glaze. That was the old power where enemies fought with weapon skill 0. That was a fun one. I have that book right behind me, basically. And do you know what I did this week, which was cool but annoying? I ordered another one of these guys, and I actually ordered 2 because I wanted to do some sort of giveaway for hitting 1,000 subscribers. And I needed one for my army, and I thought I'll just order 2, and the friggin' eBay order messed up and I only got 1. So I am going to order something, and we are going to give away something on the channel soonish, because it's pretty cool, the level of support that you guys have given me. So let's jump into 7th Avenue's list then first, and I mean, we could still make it in Battlescribe. The points would just be all over the place. That might be the way to do this, actually. We'll just make it in Battlescribe, and the points will just be wrong. But that's fine. So, Chaplain and Terminator Armor. Oh, that was the last thing I wanted to mention, actually. Chaplain and Terminator Armor. If you guys don't know, just this week for Warhammer Day, Games Workshop have released this new Terminator Chaplain, right? He's pre-order available now. The link to buy him is in the description of the video, and I'll put it into chat as well. So if you were curious about the new Space Marine Terminator Chaplain, you can get a pretty good price for him here, $16.80 if you're in the UK. And I think it's an interesting option because I shared on my video this week the new stratagem that Space Marines get for 2 CP, where a chaplain can cast litanies outside of the command phase, so you can cast the litany at any point during the turn. So normally when chaplains deep strike, they can't cast litanies. Well, now you have a Terminator Chaplain here who can deep strike with the teleport strike, and then he can use the commanding oratory, use the stratagem at the start of any phase other than your command phase. Select one chaplain from your army that has not recited a litany this turn. That model can recite one litany that has not already been recited by a friendly model. This litany is automatically inspiring, and takes effect from the start of your next command phase. Oh, do you know what? I didn't read that part. That's not quite as good, is it? Well, it was my friend that pointed this out to me, and actually, in hindsight, I don't think that's... So you can cast a litany later in your turn, but you couldn't... I mean, it would be... It's like to have a litany in the following turn. I'm not so sure about that. Yeah, all chaplains do know the litany of hate. What is your question about that, Sheep? Yeah, like sometimes I jump in on my other camera and we can look at this rule. So now I'm really confused, actually. I didn't notice the last sentence. This litany automatically spiring and takes effect from the start of your next command phase. How is that useful? I'm confused in this rule. If anyone knows, I must be missing something, right? Like, because it's 2 CP. At the start of your next command phase. I don't know. See, I thought that you would use that to deep strike, then cast a litany. Oh, sorry. Did I miss that? I get a bit nervous on stream sometimes. I'm sorry. It takes effect until the next start of your command phase. Thank you. Okay, so this can be used, like I was saying. So you can take the Terminator Chaplain down, and you can you can deep strike, guarantee that litany goes off, and then make like a shorter distance charge, or like you could recite a litany that boosts you in close combat. So if you haven't got this Terminator yet, I just ordered myself one because I actually don't have a Terminator Chaplain, but cool option, right? So unfortunately, I think they didn't change the rule where it's Canticle of Hate does not stack with other movement abilities. So you would be able to make a 7-inch charge. So I guess, like, would you drop down a Chaplain in Terminator armor with the icon of the angel, so anyone that drops down within 3 inches of him can re-roll charges, and then you would instantly cast Canticle of Hate, so you're on a 7. If you guys don't know about the website Any Dice, then I implore you to use it. You can copy the function that I have down here, and this function basically lets you re-roll. It rolls 2d6 like the charge roll, and then you can basically change this to be like, right, so we would have a successful charge on a 7, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6s would be re-rolled, and what do we re-roll? We re-roll on 2d6, you hit calculate, and then basically you would add those numbers together. So on a 7-inch charge with a re-roll, you're looking at like 23.61 plus 19.68 plus 15. This plus this plus this and plus that. So it's an 82% chance of making a successful charge if you do that. So if you drop down like 2 Terminator squads, a character and this Chaplain, you'd almost guarantee like 3 out of those 4 are going to get in. You probably have to charge last with the Chaplain because you want everything else to get the rerolls. But this website is so used. Like, I like knowing, like, if you just drop down, you have an 8-inch charge with no rerolls. I believe the chance is like 40%. It's pretty horrendous, actually. I think a 9-inch charge is even less. Like you could do it in this website. You would just roll 1d6 and remove the. Sorry, you just roll 2d6. I'll just show you that as well. So you just roll the 2d6, right? Like, so if you just roll 2d6 and you need a 9-inch charge, it's like 2 plus 5 plus 8. That's like 15. So plus 11. Like, so a 9-inch charge is like a 26% chance. An 8-inch charge is like almost a 40% chance. It's pretty horrendous, right? It's why I usually start a lot of my Sanguinary Guard on the battlefield rather than in Deep Strike, because I do not like them only getting a 40% charge chance. Whereas this just changes it to all 80%. So if you're dropping in a few guys with this Chaplain, this is why I bought it, because it would have been a bit stupid if I bought it and that rule was not what I've read it as. But that is. I think it's a legit tactic, and I think if you've watched my last 2 videos on the YouTube channel, then Terminators are going to be much harder to shift, right, than other models. And Hammer Terminators can still get to hit on 2s, right? So if you drop in like Hammer Terminators with like a Sanguinary Ancient with a banner to give them +1 to hit, so they're hitting on 3s, and then Dante can also give them re-rolling everything. So I think in one of my next games, probably going to try like Dante dropping in with Terminators, and someone with Icon of the Angel. This chaplain with the ability to do the litany just makes that whole thing even stronger. I love Icon of the Angel. Yeah, I use it all the time. And then, it would be nice if our supplement did stack with Canticle of Hate. I think there was a very small period of time before our Codex came out where you could stack them. And that was super strong, right? Like, if it's an 82% chance on 7 to make those charges, you're probably talking like a 90% chance on the 6s. So, alright, so this chaplain is legit now. Mephiston... Mephiston's dropped points. He's 155 now. He went down. Oh no, that's the old Mephiston. Sorry, he went down 15 points. The issue I have with Mephiston right now is he lost the Blood Angel's Sanguinary Discipline psychic powers, which were all tailored to like movement, and or at least half of them were. They were really useful for him. The Space Marine powers don't really complement him so hard or so much, and I'm really upset that they didn't. If we look at the BA supplement and we look at the weapon changes they changed loads of stuff, right? Like the Encarmite axes and swords, these are huge, right? Like all doing 2 damage, and then Mephiston's sword, which is damn strength 10, they left it at D3. No idea why they did that. Because this just makes your Sanguinary Guard so much easier to like balance and predict their damage, right? Like if you have 4 power fists in your group and you're charging, you can straight away go like, alright, so I know I'm going to make 8 hits and they're going to do 2 damage a pop, so it's going to do like 10 plus wounds easily. When it's D3 damage, it's just so unreliable. I find with D3 damage, anytime you need to roll a 3+ to do 2 damage, you'll roll a 1 or a 2, you know? Like, it's really annoying. I really hoped, like, all this is great, Mephiston. I hope they fix this for a supplement. Like, it is a strength 10 weapon, like, why is it only D3, you know? Yeah, the Sanguinary Ancient sucks without the Standard of Sacrifice. Just throwing that out there. Like, the buff, as you mentioned, Rob, the buff that he gives to hitting for units is okay, but he's really heavy in points, right? Like, he's 130 points. I could pay 130 points for him if he carries the Standard of Sacrifice. If not, I'm struggling. Like, I've played with my Sanguinary Ancient in 2 games now since the Space Marine Codex came out, and I think the banner buffs that, like the 4+ to do 1 final action, I think it sucks. And it's unreliable. Like, I think I lost 5 Sanguinary Guard to like, what's that? Mortarion, like the Prime Arch of the Death Guard, and like on a 4+ they would have had a final attack and I got 1 attack out of 5. You know, it's just like that banner is not near as good as the Blood Angels banner we used to have that let you reroll ones on wounds. That was super strong. And then also it also gave you the ability to carry the Standard of Sacrifice or the Wrath of Baal. I mean, we've kept the Wrath of Baal, but I always found Standard of Sacrifice to be one of the most important things. Welcome to the stream, Tim. And losing that, like, I really, really hope we get that back. I mean, I did speak to a friend who played Iron Hands, and he did say that when the Iron Hands supplement dropped, like last year for 8th edition, after Codex Space Marine, it did have psychic powers, it did have warlord traits, it did have all the relics and stratagems, so hopefully we get enough in our book. The second we get that book, we'll do a live stream, even if it comes out like a different day than the Sunday stream. I'll just do a stream and we'll go through the book together. I'm sure there'll be a lot to learn. Yeah, the 1 halberd attack on the Librarian Dreadnought is nice, but do you know what? The Librarian Dreadnought, the fact that they reduced his weapon skill to 3 is really harsh. So the Librarian Dreadnought gets 6 attacks, but the weapon skill 3 hurts him. I've used him twice now, and one time I think it's actually the battle report against Iron Hands on my channel. I did 7 attacks with him and got 1 hit, so that was definitely fun. Where the hell is he? Is he up the top? Librarian Dreadnought. But what's interesting, I guess, with the Librarian Dreadnought is you can, if they take him out in close combat, you can only in death does duty end him, which has been changed as well, right? So you can't do it if he's not fought again, if he's not fought before. So, the number of attacks he gets is decent, and because he is a character, you could use Dante's buff on him to let him reroll everything. So I think he's still strong, but if I have to choose right now, because if you put a melta gun on him, because that's an option, right? 1 flamer, 1 melta gun. If you put the melta gun on him, he's the exact same points as Mephiston. So, if you compare him to Mephiston, he's +1 toughness, he's plus a bunch of wounds, right? Would it be 2 wounds? I think. The attacks are going to be similar. Obviously, he saves on 3s, but he does have Duty Eternal, which will kick in against a lot of weapons as well. And he's a character, so if you have him positioned well, he can't be shot. So right now I'm not loving Mephiston as much as I used to, I guess. Alright, let's keep moving on with this list, because I've got a lot to get through today. And Dante the Warlord. So, if you haven't run Dante yet in 9th edition, then I would say definitely run him. The fact you get an extra command point is nice. The fact that all hits take -1 to hit him is nice. His aura is obviously good as well, because you can actually cast it on a character. And from my understanding of this is you select the character in your command phase, and then he can basically leave. So once you've designated that unit, they're the unit that's getting the reroll everything. Dante can then jump away. He doesn't need to stay within 6 of the model. He just needs to be in 6 of the model at the start of the command phase. And then the Epic Deed of the Imperium is really useful again. Basically, at the moment, because there's not that many Epic Deeds in the Space Marine Codex, it just means that he will always get to fight. You can always cast Only in Death Does Duty End on Dante. So if they kill him, he will always fight. And they're not really going to kill him in turn 1 or 2, so you're gonna have Assault Doctor nut by the time they kill him, so he's always going to get his 8 attacks. I feel sad that we lost Red Rampage as well. I hope we get that back. So then moving on, this list then takes 10 Assault Intercessors and 2 groups of Intercessors. I guess the Assault Intercessors, a squad of 10, would be to push forward, and the Assault Intercessors would be to hold the backfield. It's up to you what you want to do with this. In my list, I've been running 2 groups of Assault Intercessors at 5-man and just pushing out with them. And in the last 2 games, I've actually proxied some Heavy Intercessors. So I really like the Heavy Intercessors. If you've not used them, then I think you should try and use them. For 140 points, they can sit on pretty much any objective in your own side of the board. They can have 42-inch range guns, and they can just pop. If you get them in cover and they don't need to move, essentially they have a 2-up save, and they have toughness 5, and they have 3 wounds per model. I think Heavy Intercessors are going to be really popular, and while regular Intercessors are okay, with a regular Intercessor squad, I feel like a Deep Strike and then some sort of really heavy hitting unit can just delete you off an objective. And considering how important objectives are in 9th edition, that can essentially cost you 5 or 10 points in that game. Things that have deleted me off objectives are stuff like drop pods full of multi-meltas, drop pods full of grav guns. I've had Sisters of Battle dropping in with infernal pistols that can shoot at 12 inches. So they shoot a bunch of infernal pistols, and then they charge with power swords. And there's something else that was deleting me off an objective. I don't remember what it was now, but 9th is so objective based, so having a group like the heavy intercessors that can sit in the backfield is great. I mean, this is fine as well, but I think I guess it depends. Let's see what other heavy armor this list has. So this list also has Assault Terminators ×5. Well, we talked about them this week. I think Assault Terminators are going to be strong. I'm considering running 10 of them. I'm playing Necrons tomorrow. So I guess we'll see. The Sanguinary Ancient is carrying the standard of the Emperor Ascended. I have not even seen that. That must be a rule I've missed. And the standard of add 3 inches to the ability that you get from the standard. Each time a normal test is taken, you can reroll the test. So the banner just has 3 more inches on it. I feel like you have to pick a unit with the Sanguinary Ancient now, right? Like it's not an aura, it's a pick for the. Yeah, select one Blood Angels unit within 6, and they get to add 1 to their hit roll. And this part, I don't rate this at all. Like the ability to, on a 4+, get 1 final attack. I mean, if you've got an Infernal Pistol or you've got a Power Fist, yeah, it might be okay, but it's still 50-50 chance. So I haven't had a whole lot of luck with this. I'm not so sure I would waste a relic on that. But I mean, unless there's something that I'm missing. Has anyone run that yet? The standard of the Emperor Ascendant. Add 3 inches to the range of the bearer's banner. And then reroll morale. Yeah, you're right, Rob. A big unit of Assault Intercessors being able to fight twice for only 2 CP is nice. I haven't actually looked at the weapon options for the Assault Intercessors, like how many units can have better weapons, because that was a big problem like when we looked at the Death Company a few weeks ago. I actually said in my video that like one member of the Death Company can take a Thunderhammer and one member can take a Power Fist, but someone corrected me on that, or tried to correct me, saying like, no, that's wrong. The wording on that Death Company section is horrible for the Death Company Intercessors, right? Like this section here is just horrible. Let's look at Assault Intercessors then. But this list didn't put any special weapons. Oh well, put us. Sergeant with Plasma Pistol. I talked about this week. Plasma Pistols are, to me, I think they're bloody useless. Like, the fact that they can kill your... Like, I just never fire them on high power, right? Like, maybe I used to fire them on high power if they were next to a captain or something like that, but to me, I just don't rate Plasma Pistols. I'd much say that Assault Intercessor squad would be better just putting in a Power Fist, or you can put in a Power Sword. They're the same amount of points, right? So the Sergeant's Chainsword, yes, you can have one Power Fist, 1 Power Sword, or 1 Thunderhammer in the whole squad of Assault Intercessors. That's pretty shit. But yeah, replace that Plasma Pistol with a Power Fist or Power Sword. The Plasma Pistol's never going to do anything, except maybe kill your own model if you try and fire it on high power. Yeah, it would be nice if the Death Company had some sort of fight twice strat. They're actually kind of expensive, like regular Death Company at 25 points. If you think about this, like I was looking at it this week because I was building an army list. Like a Death Company Marine is 22, plus a jump pack makes him 25. If you put a Power Fist on him, yeah, that's 10, that's 35. That's the same number of points as the Sanguinary Guard, right? Like if a Sanguinary Guard with a Power Fist is 35. Sanguinary Guard has a better bolter, has 1 additional attack, has the -1 to hit in melee. I mean, the Death Company does have the 6+ Feel No Pain, but if Standard of Sacrifice comes back, then I think Death Company are still going to be... Like, I stopped running Death Company in 8th edition because they were... I did it because they had the 1 wound and they were too easy to kill, right? But I think that they're still... Like, I just think they're going to be overcosted. If you're talking about 40 points for a Death Company model with a Thunderhammer, and your Terminator has a Thunder Hammer and they're only 3 points more and they have an additional wound, and then they have so much better armor save, right? Like 1+ on those Terminators with the Thunder Hammers. It's almost no comparison. Death Company are still very expensive. Yeah, you're right. Sanguinary Guard are amazing. And Sanguinary Guard with axes right now are really strong, right? Like your axes hit with strength 6, so against pretty much any infantry, you'll be wounding on 2s. And then against armor, you're still wounding on 4s. I think Sanguinary Guards with... I just... Literally on my table behind me right now, I am in the process of painting more Sanguinary Guard with axes. Like, I purposely made more with axes, just because it's like... I think that seems to be really strong right now. Yeah, I mean, I guess you can get the auto wounds as well on the Assault Intercessors. And Assault Intercessors do get a crazy amount of attacks. The auto wound strategy, that's probably a good point, actually. It's called Gene Rot Might, right? Yeah, that's a good point that I guess maybe people didn't catch on to, right? Gene Rot Might. Use a stratagem in the fight phase when a Primaris unit from your army is selected to fight. Until the end of the phase, each time the model makes a hit, an unmodified roll of a 6 automatically wounds the target. So if you're planning to spend the 2 CP to make those 10 Assault Intercessors fight twice, then making 6 auto wounds is actually kind of nuts. Because I think it's okay if you're planning on making them fight twice, because 10 Assault Intercessors get 50 attacks, I would guess. Like it's 5 per model. Once you get to Savage Echoes, and then 6 for the Sergeant. So if you have 50 attacks, 6 are auto wounds, and then you have another 50 attacks, then you're talking, 100 dice. How many 6s are you going to get? You're going to get 20, right? 15, 20. It's quite a lot of auto wounds. Normally, I would say Gene Rot Might is not that strong, but I mean, Assault Intercessors are the only guys that are going to be able to honour the chapter and fight twice. So it could be strong. I mean, maybe Death Company will get something like that. It seems mad that Death Company wouldn't get that, or maybe at least they'll give it to the Death Company Intercessors. But Death Company Intercessors unfortunately performed the worst out of all of our elites. I have a video from a few weeks ago where I shared that. So let's get back to this list because there's a bit to get through yet. So we had Assault Terminators, Terminator Assault Squad with it was Thunder Hammers, and the Sergeant is also on the Thunder Hammer, obviously. It was the Sanguinary Ancient, and then 9 Sanguinary Guard, 2 Infernal Pistols, 2 Power Fists, and the rest axes. That sounds like pretty much a perfect Sanguinary Guard to me. I think I ran 8 last week, and I ran 2 Infernal Pistols. I think it was 4 Power Fists and 4 axes. So paying for a couple of fists and paying for a couple of pistols is about perfect. Infernal Pistols being able to do 8 damage now is pretty nuts, especially if they're with Dante, and especially if they're with a Sanguinary Ancient, right? So they're going to hit on 2s, and I think they're going to re-roll their 1s. So it could actually be worth having a third Infernal. If you had 5 points left in this list, I'd put another Infernal Pistol into this list. I maybe need to make another couple of Sanguinary Guard with Infernal Pistols. Then this list has 5 Hellblasters in it. So I've looked at Hellblasters recently, because I have 10 of them, and I was wondering if I could get them into a list. And the heavy guns did get improved, so this is actually out of date now. Heavy. So the heavy guns did get improved, so they're 2 shots for regular power and 3 shots, 3 damage on high power. The only issue I have with them is you'll really need to have somebody around that lets you re-roll the 1s, right? Because otherwise you could potentially lose a few of your models. But I think if you had a squad of 10 Hellblasters, that's quite expensive, 330 points, but it is going to be 10 shots, and they are going to be strength 9, -4, 3 damage a time. So there's quite a large potential for damage output from Hellblasters now. I'm not so sure about this list because I'm not sure who would be with the Hellblasters to buff them. And I think they need a buff. Like, I think they need a character with them to buff them. Like, if they're advancing through the battlefield and they have someone with them buffing them, then I could get on board. I've definitely seen Ultramarines players use Hellblasters like around Guilliman, and they're absolutely brutal. So, I guess I'm a little bit confused about this heavy support choice. If you haven't looked at it yet, have a look at the Whirlwind. The Whirlwind got a new stratagem that prevents Overwatch for 1 CP. All the Whirlwind needs to do is make a hit, and if you keep the regular, not the Vengeance launcher, I think the other one, if you keep the regular launcher, you get 2d6 shots. So you get 2d6 shots with the Whirlwind, you need a single roll of 3 or above, and you prevent Overwatch. So I think that's pretty strong. Yeah. All right. So you're back on the Librarian Dreadnought. Okay. I'm playing Librarian Dreadnought. I guess we'll have to see what psychic powers we get in December. But I do just think at the moment, if you had to choose between Mephiston and Librarian Dreadnought, being that they're both 155 points, and Librarian Dreadnought in that 155 points includes a Meltagun. So, I mean, again, you're up close because you want to get in close combat. Your Meltagun will now do a potential of... Is a Meltagun the same? On half range, you get +2, so you basically do an equivalent of 8 damage. It's pretty strong, right? And based on the fact that he doesn't hit so often now, I'd be really tempted to put Dante's aura onto the Librarian Dreadnought. Like, if you get Librarian Dreadnought and Dante up front, then yeah, I would be very tempted to do that. So that you get to reroll that Meltagun, and then you get to reroll his 7 attacks. Yeah, and on half range, it's 8 damage from that Meltagun. Those new rules for the Meltas and the Infernal Pistols is so strong. Like, when you roll a 6 normally when you're shooting something like that, your opponent's usually like, oh shit, he's rolled a 6. Well, now just add on 2. Like it's just brutal. Yeah, that's very true. Hellblasters I think could work, but I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure Blood Angels really want to spend 330 points on Hellblasters, right? Like, in my last list, my heavy support was like 400 points, and 125 of them were Whirlwind. A lot of them were on a Relic Contemptor Dreadnought, but I'm actually thinking of switching that Relic Contemptor Dreadnought into a more melee version. Because before, the Dreadnought could use Wisdom of the Ancient, right, to reroll ones, but he doesn't get to... The buff doesn't affect himself anymore, and I think that's quite a big nerf, right? Because if you had a Dreadnought with 4 las cannons on it, for example, which is what one of the weapon options for like regular Dreadnoughts, or one of the options for Mortis Dreadnoughts or Contemptor Dreadnoughts, and you use the Wisdom of the Ancient to buff his shooting and everyone around him, re-rolling ones, then his 4 las cannons were pretty much guaranteed to hit. Now, without that affecting himself, like I've had it where like out of those 4 shots you've rolled 3 ones. And I just find it's actually quite a big nerf to the Relic Contemptor. So yeah, I think next time I'm going to maybe put some multi-meltas on the Relic Contemptor and give him back a claw arm, try and get him in. I think that might be a better option for Blood Angels. So, plus these Hellblasters aren't durable at all. You just shift them off the board like regular Marines. So unsure about this for that. And then Stormraven. The Stormraven is great, I guess, in terms of its movement and what it can do and what it can shoot. What's not so great, I guess, about it is 330 points. Again, it's a lot to pay, and I can just be killed off in one turn fairly easily. It's only got toughness 7, if I remember correctly. So it's not even toughness 8. It's only got a 3+ save. You do have to take a -1 penalty to hit it, but if you do hit it, then it's not going to be that hard to blow up. So, like, looking at this list, like, you can't put the Assault Intercessors in the Storm Raven because it can only transport Primaris units. You could put your Terminators and your Chaplain in, but I understand that the Storm Raven can move 45 inches, right? So it can get anywhere you want it to be in turn 1. If they don't manage to kill it and you can unload everything right into the midst of them, that would be super strong, especially if it was that Chaplain and your 5 Terminators, or with Dante and your 5 Terminators. Death Company Dread with double Heavy Flamer coming on from the table edge. Yeah, I mean, that does sound kind of fun. I assume Relic Contemptors, Leviathans. If they do get Duty Eternal, then I assume their points will go up slightly. I would kind of wait on buying Forge World, maybe. I do think, like, a Relic Contemptor right now with a Multi-Melta and a Claw might be kind of interesting. That's reasonably decently in points, and the Relic Contemptor does have like a 9-inch move, so he can get around compared to our other Dreads who now have just a 6-inch move. But I'm not sure they've announced when that Forge World book's coming yet, which is kind of annoying. But I guess we'll find out soonish. I assume that they'll announce sort of like around the time the Blood Angel supplement comes, when the Forge World book and that will come for 9th edition. But yeah, I mean, alright, so overall, if we look at this list, guys, what would we change that would make it stronger? Well, probably, I think we'd swap out those Hellblasters for Whirlwind. You don't know who you're playing against. They could have something horrible that's going to decimate your squad when you try and charge them. The Whirlwind would prevent that. If you do want some other sort of heavy support, then I think you have to drop the Storm Raven, and you could take a Contemptor Dreadnought for 180 points. I think you could take 2 Contemptor Dreadnoughts. So you could have 2 Contemptors with their buffed macro plasma cannons, or you could take a Land Raider. I mean, the Land Raider does have toughness 8. He does save on 2+. If you want to transport something, the Land Raider might be more of an option. Plus, the Land Raider can obviously have 4 last cannons on it as well, so it can give you some buffs like that. And then, maybe you've got Mephiston in the Storm Raven with the Terminators. Maybe it works. I just think it's very risky, right? You're going to fly that Storm Raven 42 inches forward, 45 inches forward, and what, you're just going to hope that it doesn't get killed. I don't know if... I just have to check. I haven't used the Storm Raven all that often. It doesn't have, like, smoke launchers, does it? It just has the -1 to hit from being fast. I guess maybe you can make it work, but for me right now, I don't think I see a place for Storm Raven. It's because it flies so high on that base, and the way that they've made the table smaller in 9th edition, I feel like it could just get killed in the first turn before you even get to move it. Unless you're taking it on as reserves, but then if you do take it on reserves, you're arguably still going to need to fly it the following turn. So again, it could get killed. I don't think it's a strong choice right now. Like, I've got one. It hasn't been on the table yet for 9th edition. I've got Hellblasters. They haven't been on the table yet for 9th edition. I like your Sanguinary Guard. I like the Ancient, although I think at the moment he's maybe overpointed. I think you could have a better option, like you haven't mentioned your warlord. Oh, you have mentioned Dante as a warlord. I would rather put your warlord on either this chaplain or the ancient and give him the rights of battle to make more of your guys obsec. I think that's super important in 9th edition. If you really want Dante to still be able to fight first, then pay the 1 CP and make him hero of the chapter. Like, I think that's valid from my reading of the rules. I can't see any reason why he couldn't be hero of the chapter. And this Indomitus armor gives a 2+ save, which a Librarian Terminator already has. So it might be more valuable changing this out to what's it called? It was one of the relics in the new Blood Angels, or it was one of the relics in the Blood of Baal book. Did they put the relics in here? The Adamantium Mantle, yeah. This would give your chaplain a feel no pain roll of 5+. If you compare that to all this armor gives him is once per turn for one single phase, he gets a 3+ invulnerable save. I mean, I guess situationally it might be better, but just having the 5+ feel no pain from the armor for the whole game might be better. Okay, we want to get through some other lists today, so let's delete everything or just start a new list. Okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Mephiston can't be on the Storm Raven. Yeah, that's correct. Deep Striking Land Raiders. I mean, you could pay to put a Land Raider into strategic reserves, I guess. And yeah, I think you're right. I think you would need 2 Storm Ravens if you want one of them to be alive at the end of turn 1. I think it's too random. I think, let me just scroll up the chat. I think I saw somebody in here. Adam Graham. Yeah, cool. Adam is in chat. So Adam, we will look at your list next. Cool. So here's a 2,000 point list. It includes Tycho and Standard Scouts. But he has put some thinking into it. Okay. So Dante Tycho, the Jump Sanguinary Priest, Guard, Terminator Scouts, Intercessors, Impulsor, more Intercessors, Heavy Intercessors. They're 140 points, just so you know. 28 points per model on the heavies. Devastator Squad with multi-meltas, an Ashurab, a Drop Pod, of course, and 3 Eradicators. Alright, so let's see what he says. Dante, reroll hits, buff to the Sanguinary Guard, and it fits. Sanguinary Guard with Fists and Infernos. To work with JJ Sang, giving an extra -1 from Assault Doctrine. Alright, so that's with the Priest, gives an extra -1 from the Assault Doctrine. 2 Sanguinary Guard moving across the board, protected by the 6+ Feel No Pain. Yeah, I mean, it's okay. It'll be better when we get our 5+ back. We better get our 5+ back. 6-man squads can suck up firepower and distract from light blast weapons. True. Intercessors and Impulsors ×2. These are just regular Intercessors. Sergeant with a Power Fist. Okay. I mean, if you're putting them in Impulsors, it might be worth just taking the Assault Intercessors. Assault Intercessors just get so many more attacks and just do so much more in close combat. If you've got the Impulsors to get them across the board, then that might be an option. Heavy Intercessors to hold the backfield objective. Yeah. Scouts are mobile and can also remain on the backfield objective to support attack on all fronts. Yeah, that's very true. How many Scouts was it? Just 5 with combat blades and bolt pistols. Okay. Scouts, of course, can also be deployed on objectives out with your deployment zone and just sit there, basically, and just hide the entire game, getting you points as well. Terminators are mobile. We can deep strike them. Did you pay for the Terminator Relocator? No? That might be an option. Heavy Flamer on the Terminator is cool. I haven't seen that yet, but it should be cool. And the Eradicator's deploy in reserve depending on what's going first. Okay, and the Devastator Squad with Tycho for the rerolls of 1s, as this is needed as the unit is -1 to hit when it drops in. Oh yeah, and he hits the 2+ on his melta gun. Drop in turn 1 per needs as a distraction, or in the backlines. Yeah, I mean, if you drop it in the backlines, you can go for line breakers straight away, because I guess you can have 3 units if it's Tycho, the Devastator squad, and the drop pod all in the enemy's deployment zone. So you can essentially start scoring 4 points for what is it called, line breaker, very early. And then, yeah, I guess you're right, that would let the Sanguinary Guard move up and engage. Okay, do you know what? I love this. I love the fact that you wrote something out for me, because, like in the last list, while I'm looking at the list, I'm sort of questioning, like, hey, who are you putting in the Storm Raven, or are these guys going there? Whereas this just makes it super clear. We probably won't build your list in Battlescribe then. We'll just look at it now that we've read it. So, yeah, I mean, Tycho has been dead for 400 years. That's a very good point. Someone said in one of the Facebook groups, they're like, why is Tycho not been retired by now? I have no idea why they keep that model around. I mean, the model is still ancient and old. They could give us a much better character. And also, like, we get a version of Tycho that's in the Death Company. I was going to say this a little bit about Corbolo as well, right? We get Corbolo, who got his ability, like, crazily buffed. But, like, Corbolo and Tycho can't take jump hacks, or they can't deep strike. And it's like, everything else we have, deep strikes, or take jump hacks. I mean, Assured Mephiston doesn't deep strike, but with his wings and stuff, he has ways of getting places, right? Yeah, I was saying earlier, Rob, if you find the YouTube channel and you go over to this discussion tab, if anyone wants to submit lists, put them on the discussion tab within YouTube. That'll make it way easier for me to find them in the future. Because at the moment they're just like mixed in all the video comments, and I think that Friday's video had like 130 comments, and when you try and open that map in the YouTube admin, it's like really laggy on my computer. So it would be much easier if people just put future lists on there. Okay, so Dante, yeah, we talked about this. I love Dante. I'm actually confused. Maybe I've been playing him wrong. Is it he has to be the warlord to get the +1 CP, I'm guessing, right? Yeah, okay, so he is the warlord and you give something else hero of the chapter, right? Okay, I'm with you. Okay, so Dante is the warlord. We've upgraded the chief with the relic plus the warlord trait. The warlord trait is selfless healer. The relic that chief takes, the gun that he gets, I'm not sure it's worth it. I would rather give him the one that we just talked about on the other guy's list, Adamantium Mantle, or give him the armor Indomitus. The armor Indomitus gives him +1 wound, makes him a 2+ save, and once per game you can get a 3+ invulnerable save for a phase. So like if he's targeted by something like, I think in my game just last week he ended up in combat with Mortarion, the Demon Prince of Nurgle, or whatever he is, sorry, the Demon Primarch of Nurgle. So being able to go to a 3+ invulnerable save for 1 turn in close combat was really good. Yeah, that's okay as well. The 2+ 5+ invulnerable armor. The 5+ feel no pain is okay. But yeah, as long as you're giving him something that makes him a bit more survivable, I'm much better with that than the gun. And then the Sanguinary Guard, 1 Power Fist, 2 Infernal Pistols. Sorry, all with Power Fist, 2 Infernal Pistols. I think that's overkill. And within I would mix some Power Fists into each squad. I don't think you need to put all your heavy hitters into one squad, and I'd probably put 1 Infernal Pistol in both squads. I think the axes do so much now. Like, we were just talking about that, and I mean, even the swords, right? Like, so the swords went up to toughness. The swords went up to strength 5. So previously, when you had the Sanguinary Guard with their swords, they were strength 4, right? So if you hit like armor, you would have needed like a 5, and now it's just a 4. And again, if you hit infantry with toughness 4. Before you would have needed like a 3, now it's just a 2. So I think the power fists are still useful, but I don't think you need to quite. I don't think you need squads where we're all power fists. Like, I think you're just wasting points there. But because you've got 2 squads, I just put like 3 power fists in both and like 1 infernal pistol in both, or maybe both infernal pistols in 1. It just means like on the battlefield, once your opponent knows where the infernal. Do you know what? I think that's fine, but I think that's what I would do just because I feel like I've had really good success with the axes lately, axes and swords, yeah. And yeah, I would deploy the Sanguinary Priest with the 2 Sanguinary Guard. In my army, I run Dante with them as well, and we re-roll a bunch of hits, and yeah, it's generally good times. The Scouts, I agree with what you said, like set them up somewhere on the battlefield to maybe hold an additional objective, set them up like obscuring out of line of sight, or keep them at the back if you think that you're going to need to screen a bit. For 70 points, they're kind of fine, right? Like, they're just a cheap unit that can hopefully sit on an objective. We don't expect them to do all that much. But saying that, I mean, like, I did have scouts with bolt guns do a surprisingly decent amount of damage in close combat, right? So with the knives, what is it they get? Like 2 attacks each. So once you've charged, it's 3 attacks each. And an extra 1 on the sergeant. So for 70 points, you are still looking at like 16 attacks. So I know it's only strength 4, but technically against other enemy infantry, because of our red thirst, we usually wound on 3s. So it's 16 attacks, hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s. You're still going to make the enemy take like 10 saves from a 70-point model. So scouts with combat knives is fine. I mean, it sucks that they take up elite choice now, but it is what it is. Your 2 intercessor squads here with a sergeant with power fist, I think you'd be much better served. You'd be 5 points cheaper as well if these were assault intercessor squads, right? They're 95 points against the intercessor squads being 100, so 5 points cheaper. And yeah, I mean, it's probably worth dropping the shield drone on the impulsor now because it's been nerfed a bit, and just have some missile launcher on there. That's fine. But yeah, I just don't think intercessors have that much killing potential in melee, right? I mean, and what they get, they're going to get 1 extra range shot. So you're talking like you're going to get 5 extra shots with your bolt carbine if you pick the rapid fire one. I mean, I guess you can take the assault bolt carbine. I don't usually run that one myself. Did they change that? Or what bolt carbine do you normally use with that, Adam? By the way, guys, if you do submit a list, it's super cool if you do what Adam is doing and you hang out in the room as well, because it means that I can ask questions about it as well. So yeah, you could take the auto bolt rifles on the intercessors. Yeah, they did get buffed. They are assault 3 now. So I guess if you are unloading deep into enemy territory, you would get 20 shots with the guys. And you only lose 1 attack, so I think you get about 20 attacks instead of 26 in turn 3. So it would be about 15 attacks. Let me just get the math right. So it would be, you get 16 attacks in close combat with the intercessors, and you get 21 attacks with the assault intercessors. Do you know what? So actually, if you equip them with the auto bolt rifle, it's about the same. I guess the difference is the auto bolt rifle has no AP, whereas the chainsword has -1 AP. But then, are you unloading them on turn 2? So you maybe, there's very little difference in here. If you haven't used assault intercessors, though, I'd say, Adam, try a squad, because I tried a squad and I don't think I've fielded regular intercessors since. They just once you hit turn 3, it's 26 attacks, hitting on 3s, usually wounding on like 3s or 4s, and then it's -2, and you can pay 2 CP to do the whole thing again. Like, those guys can delete. I think I deleted someone dropped down a Devastator squad with 4 multi-melt. It's exactly what you've got here. Someone dropped one of those down just out of range of my assault intercessors. The Devastator squad killed my tank or whatnot, but I just charged them and killed them in 1 turn with the assault intercessors, and then did the smart thing of consolidating into the drop pod so he couldn't shoot at me with anything else. So I would say definitely try assault intercessors. The heavies, yeah, you just messed up the points, but these execution rifles, guys, if you haven't played with them, I think they're great. 42-inch range, strength 5, -2, 2 damage. So holding one squad of these holding a backfield objective is like super useful, right? If you guys are getting any value out of this live stream, I'd appreciate it if you do hit like. It just helps other Blood Angels players find the channel. And then, yeah, the Devastator's drop pod madness. So this is going on a lot at the moment. I have to fight Iron Hands list. I had 2 of these. You get 10 multi-meta shots, right? And you, like you said, 1 multi-meta with the Sheriff is hitting on 3s, so that's 4 shots hitting on 3s, the others hitting on 4s, because those Devastators will have been classed as moving with heavy weapons. But you have Tycho there to re-roll some of the hits. I have to actually look at Tycho's. Is he in here? Did he get changed? Yeah, what does he get? So he gets re-roll hits, basically. And then he does have his Meltagun, right? Which he wouldn't get to re-roll his Meltagun, though, because he is not core himself. But, I mean, I guess when you add that together, that basically means you get 11 multi-melta shots, right? When he drops in. So that's interesting. And, I mean, he's no chump in close combat, right? Like, they buffed this Dead Man's Hand, so it's -3. So it's like 5 attacks he has with a -3. And I guess if you are fighting against orcs, he gets a little bonus there as well. The chaplain on the bike with outriders and a sanguinary priest with a jump pack is feasible, right? However, I had real problems with the outriders in that their models are so large, right? So when you say 2 outriders, I assume you mean 2 squads of 6. 2 squads of 3, so 6 models. I think you're going to have some problems with just manoeuvring around. And the outriders, we'll just look at them real quick, because a lot of people in Blood Angels, myself included, got outriders they were one of the things we were most excited about with the Indomitus box, right? So outriders, they only have 2 attacks and the sergeant has 3. So if you think about it like this, when they charge, it's 3 attacks and 4 in the sergeant, so it's 10. And yes, you do get devastating charge, which adds 2 to attacks for the turn they charged. But it's only 16 attacks, right? So if you look at your regular assault intercessor squad, they get 21 attacks. So it's actually 5 attacks less than an assault intercessor squad, and they're 40 points more. I suppose if you add up the wounds as well, I guess they do have 2 more wounds and they do have more toughness and movement. But usually as a Blood Angel player, the thing that I care about more is like the damage output, right? Like, I think at the moment, and then obviously if the combat goes on more than 1 turn, then you lose that +2, so you drop to 10 attacks, which at that point is kind of tragic, Timothy. I know when I had outriders, I never felt like I did enough damage in the initial turn, and then when the +2 dropped off, then I felt like they were really underwhelming. So, I guess that's 100% your call, what you want to do with them. But, the priest is a great idea to buff them, and the chaplain also is good to buff them. I'm not sure what litanies you would be using with them, but once they drop to 10 attacks, because quite often combat does last more than 1 turn, I just felt they were so underwhelming. I was really disappointed with them for the points, and I just think we can have better options. Yep, you can all spec scan units coming out of drop pods. They changed that, so that is valid. So if you are dropping these guys down, just make sure you drop them out with 12 inches of some infantry unit that has a lot of guns, I guess. In some ways, that's what these heavy intercessors are great for, to auspex scan. And there's no longer a -1 on auspex scan either, so you just hit on whatever you hit with. So they got rid of that. Yeah, you're. I have 3 attack bikes. Do you feel like they're worth having in 9th edition? Has anyone in chat actually been running ATVs for us with? Yeah, priest bringing back a bike at full wounds is pretty strong. Though, yeah, that's very true. There's a lot of wounds to bring back, right? And if you have the selfless healer, you can heal 2 models as well. So if you had 2 squads of bikes, I guess you could heal as well. But yeah, okay, so this is a cool idea, and then the Eradicators coming in as reserve where and when you need them totally makes sense as well. I mean, in some ways they're just like another drop pod of multi-melt, is probably the same amount of shots, or 6 shots if you pick the same target, right? And thanks so much for this, Adam. This is super useful. So this is a cool list. I don't know if I would, if I were you, if I would change too much, I would change too much, I guess. The one thing I would say is there are other Space Marine chapters that get a lot more value out of these points, right? You're paying 255 points. If you think about Iron Hands, they have the ability where they don't take a -1 for moving and shooting heavy weapons. So if they come down, and they get to reroll their own ones for free. So, like, other chapters can do this a lot better than we can do. But, I mean, I feel like with your idea of bringing in a captain or someone that can buff them, we could do okay. You could definitely do enough damage where this captain, where you've got Linebreaker, right? Like, you're straight away going to probably score 4 points for Linebreaker, and then I feel like you'd probably survive one other turn because these guys are going to do enough damage to whittle down whatever's back there so that you survive another turn. So, okay. Yeah, if you have any more questions, you want me to ask anything else, Adam, just let me know in the chat. I am going to move on, though, just because time marches relentlessly onward is a thing that I see. So Michael Wall, this was from 5 days ago. So first of all, before the list, he loves the premise of the. Oh, that's nice of you to say. Yeah, I mean, it does take a bit of time to put all the videos in together, but I mean, it's been kind of rewarding, so it's okay. So this list resolves around using infantries and bikes to clear the screen, and then the chaplains speed over to wherever I want to deep strike using the 21-inch advance and cast the +2 to charge, or reduces it from 8 to 7. After that, our specialised troops take care of the rest. 21-inch advance. How is he? Oh, does the Primaris chaplain on a bike? So he would move 14 and then he would turbo boost 6 and then he would get +1 from Red Thirst. Interesting. Okay, so Space Marine Captain with the Relic Blade, the Storm Shield, the Warlock trait, the Imperial Sword, and the Adamantium Mantle. So he has taken the 5+ Feel No Pain on that Captain, which we talked about. That's pretty cool. The Imperial Sword Warlord trait gives you the ability to, I think it's reroll charges, right? Imperium Sword. You can reroll charges made by this Warlord. Each time this Warlord fights, add 1 to strength and attacks. So +1 attacks, +1 strength, and reroll charges. But he didn't give this guy a jump pack. Maybe that's an oversight, or maybe that's included. It does seem like I feel like a regular captain's like 85 points. So, Michael, are you in chat today? So we have the Primaris Chaplain on a bike, who is the Master of Sanctity. So he can, for 2 CP, we give him a Warlord trait and a Relic. He gets Icon of the Angel to let reroll of charges. He gets Rites of Battle, so that your close troops to him become OBSEC, right? I think it's actually called Rites of War. I'm not sure what Storm of Fire. Oh, Storm of Fire. When a friendly unit is within 6, improve the armor penetration of all attacks by 1. I think the Rites of Battle is a better choice there. I just think that OBSEC strategy is so huge. He knows Canticle of Hate and catches him with fire. Okay, this Primaris Chaplain, someone was asking about him last week. I think he's really strong. He has, I think it's 7 wounds and toughness 5, right? And I'm sure he's got an invulnerable save. He's actually sold out on some of the websites I use. Yeah, he's got a 4+ invulnerable save, and yeah, he's 7 wounds. So this Primaris Chaplain on a bike is actually a really strong choice. And I never realised that he had a 21-inch advance. So getting him where you need him to be to give off your litanies to a group of units is really strong. So we talked about another list about how we feel like right now the Librarian is probably stronger than Mephiston. Psychic Fortress is a 6-inch bubble of 5+ invulnerable save, and Might of Heroes lets you add 1 to strength, toughness, and attacks of a single friendly model, and Null Zone lets you remove invulnerable saves from units close to you. If there was a way to deliver Mephiston in this list, like if there was an Impulsor, then maybe this is kind of cool, but without it, I feel like he's going to struggle a little bit. So tactical squads, 3 5-man tactical squads, including combi weapons, plasmas, plasma guns. Intercessors against tactical squads, there's not much difference. Intercessors get a little bit long ranger, but they lose some of the heavy weapon options. Yeah, the Chaplain could get the Relic Crozius and then the Mantra of Strength. This Primaris Chaplain is a really interesting guy. It might even be worth giving that Chaplain some sort of better armor, or just make him survive. And also in this list, it might be worth taking a healer, right? Because I don't know how you deliver Mephiston across the battlefield without Upon Wings of Fire. I feel like that was... Sorry, keep calling it the wrong thing. Wings of Sanguinius, I feel like was such a core power for Mephiston. Until we get that back, I feel like he's a bit gimped, right? I can't imagine that we're not getting it back, right? Because, the Wings thing has been around for forever and people love it, so... I feel like we will get it back, but just it's a bit of a question mark. Then we have intercessors with the close range bolt rifles. We have bike squads, including 3 bikes and attack bike with multi-melta. This is an old school list for sure. Okay, another bike squad with the same, an outrider squad, Vanguard veterans, 8-man, where everyone has Storm Shield, Sergeant's Relic Blade, 2 Thunder Hammers, 2 or 3 Power Swords. Vanguard veterans are solid right now, and I guess you talk about having anti-armor. They will kill armor. If you don't know about Vanguard veterans, still have access to the Melta Bombs rule, and Melta Bombs is very strong. A single unit makes an attack, and on a hit roll you do 2d6 mortal wounds. If you've got a couple of Thunder Hammers and a Relic Blade in there, then that's, even against toughness 8, that's some decent anti-armor there. The Sanguinary Yard, I'm not sure why you got so many with swords. I think swords right now are the weakest choice. Let's have a quick look. The difference between -2 and -3 is kind of... in some ways it's important, but in some ways it becomes irrelevant, right? Because, if you think about it, if you're attacking characters or anything with an invulnerable save, very quickly -2 and -3, I feel like I play in a meta where a lot of the things I end up going against will have a 4+ invulnerable save, right? So -3 does you no good there, whereas -2 does exactly the same. And then once we hit turn 3, this becomes -3 and -4. At that point, the difference between, if you aren't pushing something to their invulnerable save at -3, then something's wrong, right? Like, pretty much any model in the game will be hitting their invulnerable save on a -3. So I do feel like swords are the weakest option. Like, I have just a few Sanguinary Guard with swords, and they're always the ones that I choose last. Like, if I have other models, axes or power fists, I'll always feel them first. Rob, you're right. Swords are the best versus Marines, but I don't think Sanguinary Guard are on the battlefield to kill Marines, right? Like, if I'm playing a game of, usually, like, I'd run Assault Intercessors against Marines, or Death Company with Chainswords against Marines. I wouldn't be running my Sanguinary Guard with power fixes in those axes and swords against Marines. I'd be going for higher value targets with them. So that's just how I play them, I guess. Maybe I'm doing it wrong, but I mean, I feel like if you feel like you're light on armor, I think he specifically said he was light on anti-armor, then here's your problem. Get rid of some of those swords, get some more axes, and get a couple of power fists into those groups. What would you have to drop to get some power fists in there? I'm sure you could maybe drop some of these plasma guns. If you think about it, right? A tactical squad with the guy with a combi plasma, you're going to get like 2 plasma shots per turn, whereas like one guy with a power fist in here will get 5 attacks in a single turn. So one power fist, assuming you can get the Sanguinary Guard into melee, is going to give you a lot more value than these plasma guns up here. In the same way, it's why I'm going to change my Contemptor Dreadnought from having 4 las cannons to have a multi-melta and a claw, because 4 las cannons throughout the game is a maximum, of 20 shots, or the multi-melta on one arm would do 10 shots, so basically half the number of shots. But if you think about a Contemptor Dreadnought, if he gets into combat, I'm just going to base it on the regular Contemptor. The Contemptor has 5 attacks, so in one turn, less than one turn, if you have Savage Echoes, he's done 6 attacks. So throughout the game, you just get so much more potential from these melee weapons than you do from like random guns as a Blood Angel. And I mean, as a Blood Angel, you're always trying to get into combat anyway. Like, I feel like most of our games are won or lost on whether you get ideal melee combats or you get good melee engagements, right? Like, very rarely do I shoot an enemy off the table. Maybe I shoot out like one unit in turn 1 and then try and get into combat, right? You're absolutely right. If the Sanguinary Guard are near your Warlord, then they get +1 to hit just because they're near the Warlord, which means those fists are hitting on 3s. And I mean, you could put the Chaplain in there as well, and you could take I think it's Recantation of Focus. Is that the one that gives you +1 to hits as well? So you could end up hitting on 2s with those power fists. I will check. Will I Litany of Battle? Yeah, Recantation of Focus. If the Litany is expiring, each model in that unit... Oh no, that's ranged attacks, sorry. So which is the one that does melee attacks? There is one, I'm sure of it. No? Oh yeah, oh no, yeah. No. Attack. Exorant of Rage gives you +1 to the attack's wound roll. Well, I mean, that's interesting as well, right? Because your axes would probably wound on 3s. I mean, your swords might wound on 3s as well. I guess if it's toughness 8, your swords are probably going to wound on 3s as well. So if you took that litany, then you potentially wound on 2s with your swords. They're 2 damage a time. You could do a lot with that as well. And the axe being 2 to wound against toughness 5 is pretty huge. Welcome back, Phoenix. And 3 swords, 3 axes, 3 power fists. It's an interesting question. I don't think I actually have enough axe models to run all axes. So I think the last one I had was 8 guys, and it was like 4 power fists, 3 axes, and a sword. And I think that's fine. I think you just want, like, I would say around half, like 30 to 50% of the unit having power fists. So when you do get in combat with something big, you guarantee to do wounds and do damage, right? So, I mean, I guess my question with this list is, you already have some multi-meltas, right? And these multi-meltas are kind of protected because you've got like 3 shitty bikes to tank, or I guess they're not shitty, but they are a bit. They're the old school bikes. So what have they got? They just got like a twin bolter on them and like 3 wounds. Is it? Toughness 5, 3 plus save. So I guess they're average bikes. So you've got 3 average bikes to soak up 9 wounds before they can even kill your bike with multi-melt on it. So you've got a little bit of heavy firepower. That's going to survive a few turns. So you're going to get like 8 to 12 multi-melta shots off, sure, for this. You've got some outriders. You've got a huge close combat contingent here, like 750 points almost. So I just don't know how you're going to deliver Mephiston. I think that's going to be the problem. That's why I think maybe a Librarian Dreadnought just plodding across the battlefield is going to do better for this. And I would put some power fists in here as well. Okay. Is there anything else I would change in this list? The only other thing I would... You know, again, the 5 intercessors with auto bolt rifles is fine. I just personally prefer assault intercessors because they have the ability to attack twice for 2 CP, which is kind of cool. And yeah, I mean, this captain with the Relic Blade, Storm Shield, and Warlord trait, and Adamantium Mantle. This reminds me a lot of like the Smash captains that we had before. The thing to say, I think, about Smash captains is gone are the days when he jumps off and does his own thing, right, throughout the battle. He needs to be with a squad. He's never going to kill anything outright on his own anymore. And if he does end up on his own, he's probably just going to get deleted. The Storm Shield makes him a little tougher against small arms fire, but I mean, he's still pretty easy to take down. So that's why I've been running Dante for only 45 more points. And Dante does have an additional wound. But I mean, I guess I just always think, like, as nice it is to take Mephiston and Dante, it's kind of points heavy. I know they made this a little bit less. I think I would probably drop these Outriders, pick up, consider picking up Dante, and maybe switch Mephiston out for Librarian Dreadnought. And then with the extra points that you've got from doing that, you'd have like 60 or 70. Fill up one of these, like get some power fists. Also, you don't have any infernal pistols. I don't know if you were here earlier when I was talking about how strong they just can be now, in that they can do 8 damage a shot. It can be kind of brutal. Okay, and yeah, I haven't run a Smash Captain for a while. I've run them a couple of times in 9th, but I was never really impressed with them in 9th. I haven't run one since they made the change to the core rules, so the captain doesn't reroll his hits anymore. So I feel like that's probably... I mean, if he's running with a squad, it's probably fine, but I guess the difference between him and Dante is Dante still has the ability to jump away and do a lot of damage. And the buffs they did to Dante's axe is pretty significant, I think you'll find. It was strength 6 before, it is now strength 7, and when you're up against like toughness 6 or 7 enemies, it makes a big difference. Toughness 6 enemies are obviously wounded on 2s now, toughness 7 enemies are wounded on 3s. I think that is so much better than what we had before, which was like you could reroll against infantry. It was kind of pointless before anyway, because you kind of always wounded infantry anyway. You would need like 2s to wound them. Toughness 6 with the +1 from Blood Angels. So the axe changes, I think, are really good. The fact that he can buff another group of guys and then fly away is great. He always gets to fight he always gets to fight even if he gets killed. He's harder to hit. He gives you an additional command point. And then I think the final thing to say is, from what I understand, he can chapter master himself. Because it says, in your command phase, select one friendly Blood Angels character within 6. Well, Dante is a friendly character and he would be within 6. So I don't see any reason that he couldn't chapter master himself. So if he is left alone somewhere in the battlefield, he would be able to reroll his 1s as well. So that is strong as well. And then even if he gets killed out with melee, he can still fire off his Infernal Pistol one last time. If he did pick himself, then he'd hit on 2s. And it could, like in death, he could essentially do 8 damage against something that he's not even in combat with. He just shot with Infernal Pistol. If you're in a big melee, that could be pretty interesting. I think, Michael, you're wrong. You can get +1 to wound against toughness 5 and up, which is offset by this -1 to hit. Yeah, there's lots of ways how we can add to hit with the Sanguinary Guard, though, right, Michael? The Sanguinary Guard have that heirs keyword that gives them +1 to hit, if they're within 6 of your Warlord. So if you had a Power Fist and you were -1 to hit, you'd be hitting on 4s, right? But you're within 6 of the Warlord, so you can hit back on the original 3s. Now, if you have the Sanguinary Ancient and you picked the Sanguinary Guard, you can now add another +1 there. So your Power Fists can now hit on 2s. And if they are next to the Warlord, who is Dante, then you can reroll your 1s, or you can reroll all misses with Dante. So if you have a Sanguinary Ancient, a Sanguinary Guard, and Dante, your Sanguinary Guard's Power Fists can hit on 2s. So if you have that's why I was saying, if you have half the squad with Power Fists, you can hit on 2s with those. And then if you have some Infernal Pistols in the squad as well, again, you can hit on 2s and you can re-roll. The damage output they can do is really worth it, or is really high, I feel like. Okay, and then, so, yeah, and I guess in this list, if we remove the Outriders, we took Dante, we'd have about 70 points left, put 2 or 3 Power Fists into each of these groups, that would give us maybe 30 points left. You said that you had 8 Vanguard Veterans, put in another couple of weapons in there, or just take another model. Take a model with a chainsword, or take just a couple of cheap models at the end to take wounds on. So when they start targeting your Vanguard Veteran, you just take off some cheap models that just have chainswords. Or, I guess if you had just had enough points, maybe you can sneak one in with Lightning Claws, being that they just got buffed. So, hope that helps. And then, normally we'd sort of call it now, because we've been going for about an hour and a half, but today I thought, try and do 4 lists, just because there was a lot of lists submitted this week. If you're just joining the stream and you want to submit a list this week, then where you need to go is you need to come onto the channel, you need to click on the discussions tab within the YouTube channel, and here you'll be able to drop your list and I'll be able to find it. Okay, so this list is submitted by the guy, his name was Life RPG. So Life, if you're in the chat, give me a shout out. And this one didn't have any comments with it, so it was great, the folk that left comments as well. So this one is the Sanguinary Priest with the Selfless Healer, so he can heal 2 models per turn. He's the Master Apothecary, so he can bring one back to life, and he's a jump pack. That's fine. I do think this guy is not survivable, though, without something else, right? If we go find the Sanguinary Priest as he stands, I mean, he could be survivable and protected from shooting, but he's not survivable if you get him into melee combat. He only has a 3+ save. He only has 4 wounds. The enemy will if you're playing, I play against the same guys every week, right? So they very quickly will figure out, like, hey, the priest is healing 2 guys and resurrecting a guy every turn. Well, guess what? We're going to absolutely target him in melee combat. Like, I'm sure everybody knows the dangers of splitting fire. Well, they won't split fire. They'll just have like I don't know, it'll be like a demon prince of chaos will just fly in and use all his attacks on the priest just to get him off the board because he doesn't like me rezzing or healing the Vanguard veterans and the Sagma Regard and bringing someone back to life every turn, right? So having some sort of relic or warlord trait to make that priest more survivable is important, I think. So this is a chaplain master who's a warlord. He has the Imperium Sword, he has the Benediction of Fury, the Canticle of Hate, the Mantra of Strength, the Master of Sancticity. The Benediction of Fury is the... What? Is that this... I have to check that one. I don't know if I've run that Benediction of Fury. What is that? Someone in chat tell me what Benediction of Fury is. Oh, it's it replaces the Crozius. So it's a +2, -2 damage, 3 damage Crozius. Let's have a look at it. Benediction of Fury. Oh, and it does mortal wounds on 6s, much like the sword that the Judicar carries. Okay, so it's a buff Crozius. And the Imperial Sword is the one where you can reroll the charges, right? So he rerolls charges. And he gets +1 strength and attacks. So this guy, in some ways, he's a little bit like a Smash Captain. Then this one's pretty crazy on Sanguinary Guard. All right, 7 swords, 2 power fists, 1 axe. 7 swords, 2 power fists, 1 axe. 10 power fists, 10 plasma pistols. Why plasma pistols? Oh, I don't get it. Tell me in the chat if you actually like. Just if you like plasma pistols, please just put a yes in the chat. I just think the Infernal Pistols offer so much more damage, and they don't kill your own models. If you watch my video, I just hate the Plasma Pistols. I think it's the stupidest thing ever that Mephiston has a Plasma Pistol as well, right? Because when the actual F are you ever going to fire that Plasma Pistol on high power? Right, you're just gonna say, yeah. If I roll a 1, Mephiston's just dead. 155 point model, arguably one of our best characters. Like it's so stupid. So straight away on these, yeah, seriously, no one in chat said yes. So if you're watching this back, swap out some of these plasma pistols for infernal pistols. You'd be better off taking half that many as infernal pistols if they're double the points. I don't actually know what the difference in points is between plasma and. But you know what? We'll just check. Is it in this document? Sanguinary Guard. They're the same. All right. Well, just 10. That's overkill right there. 10 Power Fist, 10 Infernal Pistols. You need to distribute those between all 3 squads, because I can guarantee you if you're playing any decent enemy, they're going to be like, alright, which squad is the 10 Power Fist and Infernal Pistols? That squad? Alright, I'm just going to shoot everything at that squad. That squad will be deleted off the board, the other 2s will be ignored. So, I'd almost say never gear up a squad as much as that. It just, like... Maybe I know the meta I play in is like super competitive and like people don't want to lose a single game. People try and take the most overpowered shit they can, but people also very quickly figure out what is doing the most damage and how to deal with it. So that's exactly what would happen in my meta. Yeah, I think what Rob said there in chat is the best idea. Two Infernal Pistols in each squad. So if any squad gets close, then that's the potential of just popping off 16 damage. Okay, Thunderhammer Terminators with Storm Shields. Well, we talked about this in Friday's video. Thunderhammer Terminators with Storm Shields are cool, I think. I kind of feel like I want to run some this week and just see how they do. I think the 3 wounds and the invulnerable saves will make them very, very difficult to shift off the board. I would almost say, if we're dropping some of these pistols... By the way, there's 40 people in chat right now. Not a single person said those pistols were worth keeping, so drop your plasma pistols. Grab the teleport homers for the Terminators, right? Because Terminators with the ability to relocate with the teleport homer seems like a really interesting option. The way it works is, if you come down from Deep Strike in turn 2, you could potentially charge and kill a unit. Let's say you charge and kill something on an objective. If you don't need that objective, at the start of turn 3, you could lift up off the board and come back down in turn 4. So I think that's what I'm going to try, right? Like, I was thinking, I'll bring down a Terminator squad in the backfield, I'll try and charge in, I'll try and delete them off an objective. It might not even bring down a close combat Terminator squad. Could bring down one with Storm Bolters and Assault Cannon, do a lot of damage and then charge, or bring in the Thunderhammers, Lightning Claws, charge in. If we are successful, then pick that Terminator squad off the board and think about going for another objective deeper. Like, if it's one of these maps with 6 objectives, say, and 2 are in the opponent's deployment zone, you could essentially clear them off one in turn 2, try and clear them off another in turn 4. That potentially costs your opponent like 20-30 points. If you actually manage to do that successfully and you save your re-rolls in the charge phase, right? You like your command reroll. If you save it for those Terminators and you like almost guarantee they get in. I mean, we talked a bit earlier about if you reroll on 7s, but if you reroll on the 8s, because Blood Angels need an 8 on the charge, right? So 8 and above is going to be a successful charge if you reroll 2 dice. So the odds for a reroll for the Blood Angels charge, which is 64%, 65%, I guess, because I didn't add up all these little bits. So it's a 65% chance you make an 8-inch charge with a reroll. It's not bad. It's fairly decent, right? Like, I mean, that's why you could consider dropping in Terminators with some guns as well. But, I mean, even if you don't make the charge, you would be able to move forward and make the charge the following turn. So if you're dropping, let's say you drop these 10 plasma pistols, you put 2 infernal pistols in each group, like Rob in chat said, you give the teleport homer to both these guys, then you've got 20 points left to play with. I'd probably split some of these power fists across all the groups as well. And then you've brought 2 squads of Eradicators. Sorry, 2 squads of 3 Eradicators to bring up some heavy firepower. And, I mean, Eradicators right now, I think, are quite strong. They obviously wear Gravis armor, right? I'm still waiting on my Indomitus box, so I've just the ones that I've got. Like, I traded a friend out, so I actually don't have any Eradicators myself, but I'm pretty sure they wear Gravis armor. So you do have the new stratagem. Whoa, shit! You do have the new stratagem that lets you buff them. To 2+ save against 1 damage weapons, which is kind of nice. Eradicator squads. Yeah, they wear Gravis. Okay. Yeah, I mean, Eradicators are kind of nice. My question with this list is, like, what are you holding objectives with, though? You're going to lose the game purely on the fact that you're not going to have anything holding objectives. Like, I don't know what... So Redblade and Adam, you guys are talking about the general game rule class. Anything not deployed after turn 3 was considered destroyed. I did have a look into this, and I thought that was for strategic reserves only. I do not think that counts for teleport strike units. If someone wants to refer me to the rulebook page that mentions that would be super cool, because I was looking for that this week, but
I guess the question is, and you guys in chat can help out, if you're going to use the new Teleport Homer to remove the Terminators from the board, are they free to come back down after turn 3? Yeah, I mean, it's a real bummer that the Cat Factory lost their 4+ save, right? But yeah, this list is stacked. It's going to do massive damage in melee combat. It's also going to do pretty good in shooting, but it's going to lose the game purely because there's no objective holders, right? And you don't have any obsec. So, yeah. I just had a warning saying that my stream health is poor from YouTube. I am looking at my internet and it seems okay. So if you get a little bit of lag or anything, I'm sorry about that. I'm not sure what's going on. But yeah, so I guess Life RPG. If you're playing match play and you're going to lose the game purely on primaries. You could score maximum with secondaries, but you're still going to lose the game on primaries. So yeah, I did have a look for the rules though. Page 208 of the rulebook. Damn it, I do not have my Indomitus rulebook yet. I'm really still annoyed about this. They said it was going to take 120 days. It's been about 100 days. So yeah, I'm convinced. I'll need to check on that, guys. I'll try and check on that this week and get an answer. It seems to me that it would make no sense for the new Teleport Homer because you would only be able to remove the units at the start of your second turn and bring them down on the third turn. Alright, so you guys with the rulebook, what is the ruling? Can you use the Teleport Homer to bring those Terminators back after turn 3? Let's have another quick look at the Terminator page. Once per battle, at the start of your movement phase, you can remove this unit from the battlefield. Then in reinforcement setup of your next movement phase, you can set this unit back up in the battlefield anywhere within your own deployment zone more than 9 inches from an enemy model. If the battle ends and this unit is not in the battlefield, it is destroyed. And I really don't think that that wording, the fact that they specifically call out that the battle ends, I'm sure that means that you're not going to be automatically destroyed at the end of turn 3. Like, otherwise, why would you have put that sentence in there, right? Like it makes no sense for them to have that sentence in there if it didn't matter, right? Like they wouldn't have needed to write that sentence in. I think anyway. Maybe it's something we need to get clarification on. I will try and get some clarification on that and figure out where we're going with it. Okay. Yeah, creeping on that, we have had 6 new subscribers during the stream. So if any of you new guys are in the chat, thank you very much for subscribing. It's always nice to see some new subscribers every stream. And thank you to the regulars that have hung out. I think Rob, you've been here a few times now. I know that Highland Phoenix has been here a lot. Red Blade, Lagmeister, you guys are always hanging out. So really appreciate you hanging out every stream. if one of you guys wants to drop me a list one of these times as well, that'd be pretty cool. I mean, you're always here, so if we were going over your list, we could go over it in the chat, which would be really nice as well. What I'm going to do, just as we end the stream today, and it's just for a bit of fun, it'll just take me 1 second to find it. I was telling you guys that I was working on a video for this week. Let me get my thoughts. This week I'm working on a video where I'm getting my pile of shame, just the painted stuff, right? Like, so anything that's still in the box, we'll do that separately. Probably do it also in... Okay, yeah, so the Terminator data sheet overwrites the rulebook. It's the battle end. Right, brilliant. So the Terminators can be brought up. So Chris, you're new to the game. So far I have 11 intercessors, plan to buy 10 more for 3 squads of 7, 10 assault intercessors, 3 outriders, 10 death company Lamartas. Any advice on what to get next? I need to jump off right now, but if you go over to this discussion page, Chris, and post me a comment, I will help you out there, or maybe someone in chat. Do you know what? One of the videos I think I need to do next is like new to Blood Angels. What do you buy? And try and make like 2,000 point fun list for people, because it seems to be a question that's asked all the time. Like, what should I get next for new players? You didn't mention that you have Dante, and you don't mention you have a Sanguinary Guard. So I'd say probably something like that. Yeah, I mean, Rob's saying Sanguinary Guard, 10 minimum. Yeah, two boxes of Sanguinary Guard they would let you build 9 Sanguinary Guard, and they let you build a Sanguinary Ancient. The Ancient isn't important right now, but if they return our Standard of Sacrifice Ancient, cool, Michaels agrees with me. If they return the Standard of Sacrifice, which was a rule that we had last edition, and it's an Ancient model only, you're definitely going to want that. So yeah, Sanguinary Guard, you probably want to actually just buy them before you buy Dante, to be honest. Dante is good, but go ahead and grab yourself some Sanguinary Guard, I think. Where the hell... I have to look through my old book. Give me 1 second and I'll show you what we're talking about. Here it is. So, the Standard of Sacrifice. This is an Ancient model only. The bearer of the Standard of Sacrifice gains the following ability in addition to those described on their datasheet. So, roll a d6 each time a friendly Blood Angels infantry or Blood Angels biker within 6 loses a wound. On a 5+, this wound is ignored. So, it's huge. If you think about it, a 5+ is a third of the time. So a third of the time you lose a wound on infantry, you ignore it. It basically gives all of our infantry a third extra hit points, if you want to put it that way, or a third extra health. And the Sanguinary Ancient, let me get him up. So if you buy two boxes of Sanguinary Guard, you can make 1 Ancient model, and well, you can actually make 2 if you wanted, but I don't think there's a point right now. So you can make 1 Ancient model and 9 Sanguinary Guard, and your Ancient, what else he gets is, in your command phase, select 1 friendly Blood Angel units within 6, and add 1 to their attacks roll. So if we get the ability back to make this a 5+, feel no pain, and you get to add 1 to a unit's melee attack, it's huge, right? Like, because you can basically end up with like Power Fist or Thunder Hammers, you're able to hit on 2s. So I really hope that helps you out, Chris. And okay, so this video, hopefully, yeah, this is perfect, right, guys? This is my pile of shame. A few weeks ago, I showed you my pile of painted models. I ran out of table space, so this is the pile of shame. This is the video that I'm going to put up this week. If anyone wants to guess at the total points cost or the total money cost of the pile of shame? Guess on my discussion page, and I will let you know if you're right or not. But it's when I haven't taken all the stuff that I like. I would start a project and then move on, start something and move on. I hadn't taken it all out in a while. It's kind of embarrassing just how much is there. So on that note, hopefully I'll share with you my pile of shame. To the folk that had their lists done today, I hope I gave you some value. Yeah, stay tuned for next week. Maybe next week we're going to look at dreadnoughts. Unless, again, on that discussion page on the YouTube channel, if anyone has anything that they want to ask me to compare, because last week loads of people wanted to see Terminators compared to Blade Guards, so that's what we did. If anyone has anything they want to ask for, please feel free to ask me, and we will look at that. Okay. Yeah, so without anything else then, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. There was such a healthy number of you today, and thank you to all the regulars, and thank you to everybody in chat. I will speak to you all again soon. Alright, until next time, peace.